is the progressive viewpoint taught in scriptures, as some are aggressively saying today, or does the Bible communicate a thoroughly capitalistic viewpoint? Now, what I want you to do is answer the question, and boy, feel free to cite as many biblical examples as proof of your answer.
Well, Dave, if you really think about it, capitalism is promoted everywhere in the Scripture. Let me give you a couple examples of, if you believe capitalism, and it is, it's a system of economics based on a reward incentive. Look at the examples in the Bible where that is promoted. Many of our listeners will remember the parable of the talents, where the man called in his 3 servants, gave the one 5 talents, gave the one 2, gave the one 1, and asked them to occupy, until he returned. Well, the guy that had 5 went out and made 5 more. He invested, in other words, his money, made 5 more. The guy that had 2 did the same thing. The guy that had 1 went and buried his. He didn't lose anything, but he didn't gain anything either. When the master came back, he called all 3 of them to account, and the story gets really interesting at this point. He says to the guy that made 5 more, you now have 10, good and faithful servant, enter into the joy of the Lord. He says to the guy that made 2 more, that now has 4, same thing. And then he says to the guy that made the 1, why didn't you do anything with your money? And the man said, well, I knew you were a hard master, and so I just buried it. I didn't make anything, but I didn't lose anything. And the master said, well, you could have put the money, in a savings account and made some interest, rather than just burying it. And here's where the story gets interesting. If this had been a socialism story, the story would have ended like this. Take the talent from the one of the talents, or a few of the talents from the guy that's got 10 and give to the guy that's got 1, because the guy that's got 10 can afford it. But that's not the way the story ends. He says, take from the guy that has the 1 and give to the guy that has 10. That's a capitalistic principle. You're rewarded based on your hard work. And also, Dave, Revelation 22, where the Lord twice in that chapter talks about, behold, I come quickly. But he says this, my reward is with me to give every man according as his work shall be. We know as Christians that God rewards us after we get saved on a capitalistic principle system. How we serve the Lord determines the number of rewards or lack thereof that we will receive in heaven. So it's taught everywhere in the Scripture.